Okay, well, welcome to the podcast. Super thankful that you're here. Many of you that are watching, I have a therapist, and here she is. I don't publicize that a lot, obviously, but there's so much that I'm doing in life that sometimes it helps me, honestly, to get somebody completely left field. And that's the reason why I brought Brandy in, because I think there's so much value you can push to the people. On that, I always thought I'd be crazy if I had a therapist. And a couple of my friends were like, bro, you should get one. Mm-hmm. It's crazy, it's wild. And it was totally nothing I ever expected. And he actually helped me with things that we'll walk through here. But I just simply wanted this podcast to be something that hopefully would help people like you that are watching that may be going through things. And I came up with some topics here that I wanted to kind of go over. But tell me, how long have you been a therapist? And kind of tell me a little bit about your background and your story a little bit.
Okay. Well, I've been a therapist doing this type of work a little over 20 years total. I grew up in this area, in the Conroe area, and then I went to Sam Houston State University. I got an undergrad degree in criminal justice because I grew up such a tomboy from the country, and that type of area just interested me so much. I think more so like the stuff having to do with drug investigations and stuff like that. I graduated from there, and I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. CPS was hiring, and it was really odd because I grew up an only child, and I didn't know anything about kids or that type of area at all. Even though I definitely had a pretty awesome mom and dad, so I definitely was a hardcore believer in families. And so I was like, hey, I'll give this a shot. So I started working for CPS, and I was there for 5 years. I absolutely loved what I did in helping out, the children and the families. I had worked with a group of licensed therapists that had worked with the children and families. And instead of going to law school, like I had previously planned, I redid my route, and I went back to Sam to get a master's degree in counseling to be a licensed professional counselor. Yeah. I went ahead and did, additional studies there to also become a registered play therapist. So just kind of have both. Yeah. And with the play therapy, a specialty, I'm able to see children as young as 2 years old. Wow. A lot of therapists, they're more so comfortable working with adults or couples. Right. And I work with adults. I work with people of any age. I can really see anybody, but I think more of my therapy practice is focused on, youth, families, kids, parents, and such. So that's basically my history. Yeah. Instead of going off to practice, in Houston or Spring, or somewhere else, in Texas, right, I chose to go and stay here in this area where I grew up because I've seen the population grow by leaps and bounds. Mm-hmm. And with that, families and, youth and kids and young people and adults, right, just going through a lot more issues and all kinds of situations. And I've seen definitely quite a bit more of mental disorders come to surface. So.
I want to ask you, I want to quickly go through some topics that we've talked about in the past, and I think it'd be great to help the viewers that are watching. Maybe they're going through some of these things. So I want to kind of start hitting some of these topics, and you just, give me like, a nugget per one. But one of the first questions, that I wanted to ask is, why do people stay in toxic cycles? If that's a relationship or maybe an environment they're in, a work environment they're in, why do you think people are staying in these toxic cycles?
Well, it can be for various reasons, depending on, kind of the circumstances, kind of what area, whether it's relationship or work. It kind of depends there, but usually we stay in kind of the repetition of toxicity. Usually because it's crazy to make it sound like that's our comfort zone,
Right.
but because it's not really.
Yeah.
But we kind of get, and I hate to say this, this definitely has happened several times, and of course in my own life, but we kind of get used to it.
Yeah.
We get familiar with it.
Used to the dysfunction.
Yeah,
Sure.
used to the dysfunction.
Yeah.
And then we also kind of turn on our numb switch
Yeah.
to where we become even numb to stuff, say, earlier on when the toxicity was just beginning
Yeah.
or such, that we become kind of numb to it.
Yeah.
And it make it go on for months, even years. Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing that I want to ask too as well is, can trauma show up even if I've had a normal childhood? Like, how are ways that you can see that that people have dealt with trauma even though they've had a quote unquote normal childhood? I think maybe a better way to ask this is someone who has had a normal childhood, what are ways that they have gone through trauma that they don't even know? And how do you see these signs? Are we reacting differently to life? What is your thoughts on that?
Okay. Yeah. How can I say it? A trauma could be something that, say, of course, you're, looking at a childhood and it's like, this one here is, seems pretty perfect, white picket fence family, as we call it. But say something could happen to that child. Say they could lose, say, a grandparent
Right.
that they were extremely close to.
Right.
Say, it's a boy and he's, I'm thinking of my son right now when he was 10 and my father passed away. And him and my dad had developed such a strong pawpaw and and grandson relationship, and so then when my dad passed away, that was extremely not only difficult, but I would definitely label it as traumatizing.
Right.
Because it's
Can I ask a question about this?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So if you have small kids, okay, so like my daughter's 7, almost going to be 8. You have children like this. Let's say you have children that are this age that are really attached to their grandparents, and you have this. Because of my childhood, I've lost my mom, my dad. My story, but I've lost everything, which has created a lot of trauma in my life that I'm still dealing with today. In the fact of I'm afraid I'm going to lose different aspects of my life. Either are my kids going to die, or is my wife going to die? Am I going to lose my company? Am I going to, is all heck going to break loose in my orphanage? Because that's my brain. Because I'm like programmed to protect myself, is what you've taught me, but. What could we do to prepare? I know this sounds so morbid, but I think it's a real question to ask, to prepare children that may one day lose somebody like a grandfather or a grandmother that they're really connected to. You don't want to prepare them for it, but ultimately, like, how do you deal with that?
Wow, that is a very, very big question. And the thing is too, is that children are all different. Yeah. And how they handle it and what affects them more, what situations, here or there. I think trying to give them some type of, if we're going to be talking about death, I know it's very, very hard for children to, because of their development and their, their mental level, it's very difficult for them to fully understand death at such a very, very young age. So I think that, I'm not saying, set them down and talk about life and death,
Right.
nothing like that. But, if there, say, is a passing of a family pet, or, or say somebody that the child knew but not as close to, just
Right.
things like that. And, to kind of in the best way you can describe, what has happened.
Right.
And I hate to say to somewhat help prepare the child,
Right.
but
To get them around that idea.
yeah,
To start exposing that. Yeah.
yeah, to start exposing that,
And that's one thing
to
that
some
we're,
degree.
Yeah, we're doing that with, not to prepare anything, but
Yeah.
Kinsley, my daughter, has gotten used to, or has experienced at a young age. One of our main directors in Guatemala died from COVID, and then she's now at an age where she's asking me more questions about my mom, how she died, and my dad's not here, and my grandmother died. So she's starting, and I think I've done a good job of explaining to her, like, it's life, that we don't have things forever, and that we don't. Even with dogs that have died, sometimes it's been tragic the way
Very
that
tragic.
they died.
Yeah.
And you have to explain, like, even this is why we have to be careful with certain things like this and all that. And so one thing that I want to kind of switch gears towards is, you helped me a lot understanding that the reason, because I'll tell you, like, I worry a lot in my life. Like, I'm running a marketing company. I'm doing, I have an orphanage in Guatemala. I'm a family man. I'm doing a lot. And on the outside, I am a very happy person. Honestly, I'm a very happy individual. But internally, it's almost like sometimes I'm eaten alive by worries. And you helped me with this mindset of, because I've lost so much in my life, my mom, my dad, my different family members in my life, that you were telling me, and I want you to kind of dive into this a little bit, but you were telling me that this, my brain is it's protecting itself. So you're always thinking there's going to be a downfall with my company. Somebody is going to die again, or this. And I've realized in my life to just breathe.
Yeah.
And to realize that the way things were may not always mean that it's the way it's going to be.
Exactly.
And so dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that kind of gets into kind of that repetition of just thinking the negative. Like, it's always been like this. It will always be like this. And that's not true. And we can actually, just constantly get into more of that pattern of just attacking ourselves, attacking our lives, breaking ourselves down when things are going great and smooth.
Right.
It's like this constant negative
Yeah.
of, okay, well, now what's next?
Yeah.
It's like, just because things say were the way they were in our childhood, or in our 20s, just an example, that does not mean that that's going to be the now. It definitely doesn't mean it's going to be the future. No.
So in my life, I worry a lot about, I think finances is something that I'm consistently semi-worried about, when a lot of times I don't need to be. Like, I used to be eaten alive by my own brain when I would lose an account, lose a client with my marketing company. And recently, I'll tell you, I've been very calm about that. Recently, I'm just like, okay, it'll work out, because I've seen God's faithfulness bringing, my relationship with God into this. I've seen God's faithfulness. Literally, I'll lose an account, and days later, I'll get a call from somebody that wants to join, and it's even more revenue for our company than the other client that may have been a bigger headache. So I've really kind of gotten used to, I've owned my company now almost 8 years, and I've really gotten used to God's faithfulness in my company, But what can people do when they are consistently worried about things like that? The problem is real, okay? So the financial problem can be real for people.
Yeah.
I do not have enough money for this, or I do not have enough money for that. What are some ways when we are just being eaten alive? Because I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you. I went through a little season where I was drinking Z-Quil, just to go to sleep because my brain wouldn't shut off.
Yeah, I wouldn't shut
and so
down.
literally, for 3 months, I was just Z-Quilling every night. And I started realizing, like, wait a minute, like, I don't struggle with alcohol. I don't struggle with, drugs anymore. But I'm turning to this substance that's not healthy.
Right.
Even though, it's just medication over a counter, that's not a problem. So I nipped that real quick. And so how can you walk people through if they are consistently worried about something? It may not be finances, maybe it's something different. How do we process this, and what's your best coping mechanism through that?
Okay, I think that the first thing to do, the best thing to do, is just try to stop and breathe. Stop and breathe.
Does breathing help anxiety?
Yes.
Walk me through that.
Okay, that is something, back in the day, I would laugh at that. I was like, okay, this has got to be the biggest joke. Are you serious? Because I would hear, I mean, it's like when I was in the, master's program and stuff, and I'd hear, oh, you need to breathe. Breathing's good. I'm like, breathing? That's so stupid. What is that supposed to do? And so, getting into it and looking into it, they've actually done research on it, that when it's not just breathing fast or, just you breathing in and out. It's whenever you, just sit down and you inhale very deeply and you hold it for a number of seconds, and then you exhale very slowly. And then in that, kind of imagining, the worry, the pain, the stressors, basically kind of leaving your body, being exhaled.
Yeah.
It is the craziest thing.
Yeah.
But when you do that, you can literally feel your body and your shoulders just kind of just flow and relax. And you're like, whoa. And what is happening is that it's slowing down your heart rate a little bit. It's actually lowering your blood pressure a little bit. So you're actually, in your mind, cooling yourself down. You have that power. We have that power.
Yeah.
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 It's very cool.
I'll be honest and transparent here. My family deals with a little bit of anxiety. My wife grew up kind of just anxiety driven from little random things. Trauma in her life. She was in the Katrina flood. Her house was completely flooded. That caused a lot of, anxiety moving forward. And now what we're seeing is that even, like our sweet little Kiki, who's 7 years old, will start to have, anxiety, which is crazy to me. And I hate it with a passion.
Yeah.
And
it's hard because what we go through, we see our kids go through,
Yeah.
Like with me, it's always been, the top one's always been the depression. And I got that from, of course, genetically from my father.
So can
back
you
to a little
genetically,
anxiety,
can
and
you
it's
genetically
hard.
pass down?
Yes.
So you can genetically pass down anxiety or depression.
Yes.
Right? And so my daughter will struggle sometimes, in the sense of, like, if there's something that we're about to do that she's a little bit nervous about, or if she's in a situation, in a place that maybe mom and dad aren't nearby, she'll start getting worried. And we've seen it play out like that. But one thing that I do a lot is I tell her, I was like, just breathe deep in, and I'll breathe with her. I'll be like, take a deep breath in, hold it, and
I love it.
And then we immediately pray.
Yes.
We immediately start praying,
Yes.
to the Lord, like, God, help us right now. And I've learned that has helped, but the breathing aspect has helped me. There's times where I would even be in the mountains of Guatemala in a little bitty plane. And this is kind of funny, but like, I grew up, this is going to get really transparent. Okay. So I grew up with the constant need, I'm going to have to use the restroom. I'm going to have to use the restroom. And so what I started realizing is when I would get on a stage to preach, or if I was going into a big corporate meeting, or if I was in a situation where I was not going to be able to just get up and leave and use the restroom if I needed to. So then all of a sudden my brain would start telling me, you got to use the restroom. you got to use the restroom right now. And it was this weird anxiety that started happening.
Yeah, linked to anxiety, yeah.
When I'm on a little bitty plane with no restroom in the mountains of Guatemala, flying from our village back and forth, I'd be with teams and I would literally start panicking. And that's one thing that started helping me immediately was just pause and take a deep breath. And my wife, shout out to my wife because she's so funny at this, and she helped me with this, but she goes, just carry a roll of toilet paper in your backpack. Like if it really got really bad, you just have. It's so weird because it's like I'm never gonna have to just go and use the restroom, right? But I have a protection in my backpack of if I do, I'm good.
It's in the back of your mind.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, it was just weird things like that. And so I want to switch gears here just because we don't have a lot of time, but I also want to move into, why do you think personalities like mine, this is going to get real, and I want you to be honest. Don't hold back because we're here in a podcast. I want to be real. Yeah. I have a type 8 personality. I don't know if you know the Enneagram test, but I'm an 8, okay? So that's much like, a Dr. Phil personality, a little bit like a little Trump personality. But it's been very difficult for me because although it's been great in areas in my life where being an Enneagram 8 has helped me in so many ways. I've been able to go and start businesses when a lot of people would never do that. I'm able to have conversations that a lot of people run from because I'm a type 8. But what it's also done, and I want you to kind of tell me why, is if I get close to people, like really close, I have a lot of acquaintances, I have a lot of really good friends, but sometimes I feel like when I've gotten really close to people, that relationship has always gone south. And I've always wondered, is that just me? Or is that just general, like this is just general relationship, And I have a lot of friends that I'm really close to that are really good. But I've noticed, man, there's certain people that I can get close to that, like I can think of 2 people in my life that I've gotten really close to and it's gone south. And I've always so sometimes now I'm a little bit scared of like even getting closer to other people because I'm like, I don't know if it's worth it. Maybe my personality is too strong. And I do a lot to try to hold back my personality as well. And so I want you to kind of speak to that and like what your thoughts are, knowing me a little bit, how you do and what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah. Well, I think that we are all meant to be the way that we are. And I think it's hard. I mean, it's hard for when we're youth, of course, but it's even hard for us adults because sometimes we think, well, we got to be a certain way, in order to, I guess, have, in our mind or in our lives, feel like we have a lot of close friends. The reality is that you are very, very blessed and fortunate if you have 1 or 2 ride or die friends.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we may feel that we have, a whole bunch that we're super close to. We could, and I'm not saying that we're not close to them, but how can I say it? If you have 1 or 2, you are extremely lucky. Extremely, extremely lucky. Friends too, because how can I say it? I think in our lives, marriages evolve. Like you and your wife are not the same like you were the day you got married or met.
Right.
You're not supposed to be.
Right.
We're not the same as we were when we were kids and youth. Thank God I'm not, because
yeah, it'd be horrible.
It'd be catastrophic.
I don't know you when you were a kid.
It was awful. God bless my parents. Yeah. But we evolve, and we evolve in life. We are who we are, but we do alter and change a little bit. And with that, we have to understand that it's not against us. It's nothing personal.
Right.
But with that, some people are, a certain person or 2 that, gosh, we have been, say, close to so many years. Well, they really don't want to hang out with us that much anymore.
Yeah.
We have, gotten more into, say, doing this, or we, our lives, are going more this way. And theirs is maybe staying over here.
Yeah.
You know, we're evolving, they're evolving. It's not anything personal,
Right.
but as I like to say, friends, even good friends.
Yeah.
These are not fake friends.
Right.
But sometimes good friends come and go, kind of like the weather.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
normal. Is that normal?
Yes, I think it's normal. I think it's very normal. If you have one or two that you may not even talk to them all the time,
Yeah.
but say because everybody's busy, but that if you called right now, they'd be there at the drop of a hat. You are extremely, extremely lucky.
Right.
But most of our friends and people that I like to call our lives, it's kind of like our little bubbles, that consist of our family and, our partner who we're with, who we're married to, and our friends. Sometimes they come and go.
Yeah.
Can
I ask you, do you think
like
that
the
there is a limit, or not a limit? Do you think that there's an aspect of spending too much time with friends, and maybe that also can play a part of, later down the road of a split? Like, do we just get to know each other too much? Is there like an aspect in that to where you're just like, maybe that can cause, like, I remember my mom when I was little would be like, dude, you're hanging out with this person way too much. Eventually it's going to go downhill, and I'm like, what the heck, what does that mean? But then I have people that I love, that I hang out with all the time.
Yeah.
And we've been going for 15 years strong, know?
Yeah.
And so what is your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't think it's a thing necessarily of wearing out a friendship or, anything like that. Like I said, I think that friendships just evolve.
Yeah.
And you have different categories of friends. You've got acquaintance friends, which is going to be most friends that we have. Our hearts go out to them. If you need anything, give me a holler, that type of thing. Hey, I'm praying for you. Absolutely. Acquaintance friends. And then you have what I like to call, your ride or die friends.
Yeah.
And those are the ones, at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, you're calling.
Just your guy,
You're going, and you're going through something, and they're like, hey man, I'm here for you.
I'll tell you, I have people like that, and I love it too, because like I have one guy named Sean that we don't have to talk all the time, but then when he needs something, when I need something, or just to hang out or whatever, and it's not weird, it's not, oh sorry, we haven't hung out in a long time, we just understand we're both busy, we both run businesses, we both are in leadership, so we understand that. And one thing that I try to do a lot too is when I'm in conflict, I have done things with friendships and in relationships that I knew was wrong. And I've done everything I could to apologize and ask for forgiveness. And that's one thing that I've learned a lot in my life too. Now that I'm 37 years old and I'm getting older, I'm starting to realize, wait a minute, Kyle, you're not always right. And your way is not always the highway, and your way of understanding things. My wife has always been a big proponent on, I'll be processing something and I'll be talking her, through what I'm dealing with, and she'll be very straightforward with me and be like, you're wrong, and a lot of times I'm like, no, I'm not,
wait a minute, like, no, I'm right, right?
And so I've learned to just calm down and realize it's okay. You're not always right. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Like, and I've really, but I think what hurts the most is when you try to apologize, you try to ask for that forgiveness, but then that person withholds the friendship. For me, selfishly, I'm like, okay, well, maybe we're not each other's cup of tea anyways. You know what I mean? Maybe we just need to split. But then, ultimately it's always a big reflection. Before we go, what is your thoughts to people out there that are really struggling to make it in life? I have a lot of people that are entrepreneurs and business owners, and a lot of people in different spaces that are wanting to make it, maybe in their business or being a pastor or whatever, but they feel like they can never get there. What is your thoughts to them before we go?
I think my thoughts and my advice would be to don't expect yourself to be perfect. There's no such thing. None of us are going to walk on water.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
Right.
We're all going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, we're all going for goals and, these successful places in our lives. No matter, what category, what area, but to be patient, be more patient. We are the worst with patience.
Yeah.
It's like we want it right now, yesterday, completely done, mansion, 8-car garage, Bugatti. We want it all.
Yeah.
We need to slow down.
Yeah.
And yes, keep focused on, your goal, your dream, where you want to be.
Yeah.
But you're human. Be patient.
Yeah.
Do the best you can. But take one day at a time.
Yeah.
I'll
tell you this.
Yeah.
I have learned in my business, I have been doing this now for almost 10 years, and I have seen so many marketing companies come in and come out.
Yeah.
But that's one thing I'm grateful I've done. Is I started small, I built, I was consistent. My company would go down a little bit, my company would rise a little bit. And I actually have on a computer system, a revenue tracker, and I can see it. It's like, I could literally see from the time we began, how it's just gone up and down, and it just keeps going up, but there's all these little downs. And I'll say that's one thing I'm grateful for, is that I've always stayed faithful when it was horrible and I've wanted to quit. I'll stay faithful. Well, listen, thank you for being on this. We have to go. I have an onboarding meeting that I have to get to, but it means the world to me that you would come and sit down and just open up. I hope to do more. If anybody out there is wanting to have some therapy, do you do virtual sessions?
I do. I
people all over the United States.
Yeah, anywhere. I do, video, phone, virtual. Yeah. I do, of course, in person. If you're here local, you're always welcome at my office.
So good.
But yeah, I do virtual, and I mean, I love it. I love what I do.
It's good to have somebody that knows nobody that you know, that you can just literally walk to and talk to and all that. So anyways, you're amazing. We'll see you soon. Thanks for tuning. Subscribe, comment below, share. It means the world. See ya.